OneManCave.com.
And welcome to another edition of the Controversial Truth right here on OneManCave.com. And every year, and it's that time again because once again it's annual every year we do our top 10 quarterbacks in the league. Actually, I guess I won't say our, it's more of my top 10 quarterbacks in the league from my perspective, I guess. But I think I got a pretty good, mind of assessment of quarterbacks in the NFL. Now, there are some criteria that we have set because, it's really an opinionated thing when you talk about top 10 quarterbacks. That's why I like to have criteria such as championships. That's the most important thing you can have as a starting quarterback. Clutch situations. Then I look at your numbers. I look at what you do for your team. If you're a game manager, a guy like Russell Wilson, and we'll touch on that. A guy who I believe is going to elevate his game this season to being more of, to shoulder more of the load, so to say. But a guy like that, because he is a game manager, he'll be ranked a bit lower, and he might not make my top 10. So we're going to get into that in just a second. Also, when you're talking about a top 10 quarterback making the playoffs, injury, are you injury-prone quarterback? Are you healthy? Can you be relied upon? Will you be there? So these are some things I look at when I'm looking at my top 10 quarterback and trying to, get to the top. Now, I know that people have been following me for a while and they've seen my running back list, my quarterback list. NBA I do, my point guards and all this other kind of things. But as for quarterback, you've seen the list over the last couple of years. I took a lot of flack because I had Eli Manning at the top. I took a lot of flack because I didn't have Aaron Rodgers as the number one quarterback in the league. So I'm prepared to take more flack, but yet and still respect the criteria, that has been set and that has been given. Now I'm going to just give some honorable mentions out. These are guys who are not in my top 10 right now, but they may very well be on their way. I've already mentioned Russell Wilson, who has his Super Bowl, which is more of the defense, sort of like when Roethlisberger won his first Super Bowl. Pittsburgh had the defense, had the running game. Roethlisberger handed it off, and they won a Super Bowl. You don't want to really give Roethlisberger too much credit for that first Super Bowl, but that one against Arizona, that's him. And the one that he didn't get against Green Bay, that was him. So, you give guys, you put things in a proper perspective, so to say. And so Russell Wilson, you won't make my top 10. Cam Newton, who's my second favorite player in the league. This just goes to show you how unbiased I am when it comes to doing a list like this. Everyone knows that Mike Vick is my favorite player in the league. Cam Newton is my second favorite player in the league, but I can't sit here and put Cam Newton in the top 10 off one solid year. I know he had the rookie year where he kind of shattered some record. He started off hot, but that year he tailed off at the end. Last year was the first season he made playoffs, and now they've totally stripped Cam of everything on offense. Now, okay, you're giving Kevin Benjamin out of Florida State, but he's a rookie, so we don't really know what Kevin Benjamin can do just yet. But you strip Cam of everything on offense, so it's going to be kind of hard for him to prove, really how good he is with no weapons. But let's see what he can do with no weapons. Let's see what he can do with Kelvin Benjamin and Greg Olsen. Maybe they can get the running game going, and the defense is going to be solid. But Cam has to show me he's accurate on a consistent basis, which I have a problem with it. His decision making sometimes is questionable. So there are things that Cam Newton has to do to improve before I can put him in my top 10. Alex Smith, he does nothing but win. When you talk about the criteria being set for winning, that's Alex Smith, but also Alex Smith is the ultimate game manager. So you won't make my top 10 just yet, Alex Smith, but hey, you got some guys in Kansas City, we'll see what you can do. Phillip Rivers, you've been around a minute. You're not in my top 10. You just can't get it done. I know what you can do on offense. I know you're going to slang that thing, but you're just not in my top 10 just yet. And Andy Dalton, and I know some people are like, oh, easily the top 15. A guy who's coming in the league and get the Cincinnati Bengals to the playoff 3 years in a row, to have the Cincinnati Bengals win the division crown. Yes, I'm gonna give Andy Dalton his due. His only flaw is he hasn't taken the Bengals to a playoff win, and neither has Marvin Lewis, and the franchise haven't won a playoff game since I don't know when. So therefore, I do respect Andy Dalton and what he does. He still has to throw that ball to AJ Green. He still has to put the ball, in the end zone. And he got hot last year for a 4 or 5 week stretch where he was throwing 3-4 touchdowns a week. So I respect Andy Dalton and what he does and getting the Cincinnati Bengals to the playoffs on a consistent basis every year he's been in the league. Now that we're done with the honorable mention, now we can move into the top 10, and we're just gonna get right off into this thing. And I'm gonna start off with number 10, and that's gonna be Mr. Andrew Luck. Now, of course, Andrew Luck has only been in the league 2 years, and he's been 11-5 in both his seasons. And when you talk about a guy like Andrew Luck, this is a guy who really shoulders the load. I mean, it's all on him. I mean, he has to run, he has to throw. He lost Reggie Wayne. Darius Hayward-Bay wasn't out there. Well, he was out there, but he couldn't produce. He can't catch a cold. T.Y. Hilton is your main guy. So, it's good they got Hakeem Nicks, and you can really expect this to be the season where Andrew Luck goes into another level and possibly have Indianapolis competing for a Super Bowl. But once again, when you talk about the legend that's becoming of Andrew Luck, there's no way I can keep him out of the top 10 based on what he's done in his 2 years. And some people are like, well, hey, Russell Wilson won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson does not shoulder the same load that Andrew Luck shoulders. And for that reason, I just have to respect the work that a young Andrew Luck has put in, and I have him in my top 10. He'll be number 10. The Colts, after they lost Peyton Manning, and after they had that horrible season which allowed them to get Andrew Luck, they're right back. It's 11-5, you're right back. Yeah. It's like the Colts didn't really have a fall off. It's like Peyton Manning got hurt, but he came back younger. So I give all the respect in the world to Andrew Luck, and I have him in my top 10. Now, number 9, and this is a guy who last season I believe I had at number 6 or number 7. But his team had a poor season. You only win 4 games, and you go 4-12. When you start to lose weapons, and your numbers sort of dwindle, and your performance sort of tails off and goes downhill, it sort of makes it more visual that maybe you're not really that guy. Maybe you are a game manager. Maybe you are an ultimate game manager. And that's what I think about my number 9 quarterback, which is Matt Ryan. Now, of course, when you look at what Matt Ryan has done in his years in the league, last year was his first losing season. He's put the Falcons in the playoffs just about every season except for twice. 1 year he went 9-5, and the Falcons just didn't get in there. But they've been over 500 every year. Matt Ryan has allowed the Atlanta Falcons franchise to have back-to-back winning seasons for the first time in franchise history. So when we're looking about changing the culture and moving a franchise to a positive era based off what the Falcons did come from, I have to give Matt Ryan his respect. He is a top 10 quarterback in this league. I'm just looking at the numbers right now. Matt Ryan has completed over 61% of his passes every year in the league, outside of one, where he passed for 58%. When you look at his numbers, he's passed for more passing yards than Drew Brees did in his first 6 years in the league. So I have to respect a guy like Matt Ryan, and I'm going to have him up as my number 9 quarterback. Now, we're not going to take all day with my top 10 quarterback show. We're going to keep it moving. Number 8. And this is a guy who I didn't have in my top 10 previously, but this guy shows you not only one, that he's a winner, even though he hasn't won a big one, he's a winner. He's in the NFC Championship game every year, or the Super Bowl. This guy has not only showed you with the eye test, and that's another part of the criteria I failed to mention, but the eye test is huge. This guy, he he runs, he throws, he wins, and he's in one of the toughest divisions in the NFL. And I'm talking about Colin Kaepernick. Congratulations to you, Colin, too, for getting your money. That was well deserved. The guy just gets it done. And when you're talking about one of the most electrifying quarterbacks, I've already mentioned the 3 NFC championship games. He wins clutch. When it's time for clutch, you talking about playoff road games? Colin Kaepernick. You talking about playoff comebacks? He's had 2 playoff comebacks in his short career so far. So this is a guy who's clutch. He hasn't won the big one yet, but you look at his rushing numbers, you know, his passing numbers could be a little bit better, even though he's hovering around 60% completion in his career, which is decent. The guy has shown that he is a top 10 quarterback in this league, in my opinion. He's shown that he's better than Matt Ryan in the way. I mean, the Falcons played the 49ers in the NFC Championship game. You know, who won? You know, you look at these type of things when you talk about what a quarterback can do as far as putting his team on the hump. Matt Ryan hasn't proved to be as clutch as a guy like Colin Kaepernick, who's played less seasons than Matt Ryan. Next, we're going to go ahead and get to my number 7 quarterback, and this is a guy who is a champion. He's not only a champion on the field, but he's also a champion near in my heart. He was my fantasy quarterback, and we got it done. And I thank you, Joe Flacco. Now, a lot of people, you know, wanted to debate with me a year ago, a couple years ago. Oh, Matt Ryan, he's better than Flacco. Oh, Flacco doesn't get this money. He's not that. Flacco has a Super Bowl. And the run that he went on for that Super Bowl run, well, I think he threw something like 12 touchdowns, no picks. That was Flacco. I mean, that Ravens defense, I know they had Ray. I know they had Ed Reed and some other, but that defense wasn't that good. I'm sorry, I gotta tell you. Yeah, they played in the playoffs. They made a stop when they needed a stop. But Flacco was able to continuously score every time, just about to help them win some shootouts. I mean, it wasn't the typical Baltimore Raven fashion, the way they won that last Super Bowl they won with Joe Flacco at him and led the way. So I give Joe Flacco his due. Super Bowl MVP, he got his money. The Ravens have won last year was the first year they did make the playoffs under Flacco. So you talk about winning, you talk about clutch, you talk about getting it done. Yes, he doesn't have the big numbers. Yes, he's passing for 60% in his career as well, but when you talk about passing yards, Flacco has never thrown for 4,000 yards. And I think that's the big knock on him. It's like, he's never thrown 4,000 yards. Are you sure he's not a game manager? Are you sure it's not Ray? No, I'm sure it's not Ray Rice. I'm sure that what I saw with my 2 eyes was Joe Flacco go out there and do something incredible, do something we last seen Joe Montana do. 12 touchdowns, no interceptions. That's going out there getting it done. That's being a champion, and it is what it is. Every year you win, 11-5, 9-7, 12-4, 12-4, 10-6, and last year you go 8-8. So this is probably going to be a bounce back season when you give him Steve Smith. I know Ray Rice got to go through some things. The defense should be much improved. I expect another big season out of Flacco, and I expect Baltimore Ravens to return to the playoffs because they have a guy like Flacco behind center. Now we're going to go ahead and move on to my next quarterback, and I guess this would be number 6. And this guy has moved down mightily for me. He used to be my number 3 quarterback in the league. But if you look over the last couple seasons, not only has he dealt with injuries, but the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't made the playoffs. So I guess I just let the cat out the bag some. Ben Roethlisberger is my number 6 quarterback. Now, I have to somehow factor in that he's been to 3 Super Bowls. Now, we did discuss that first Super Bowl was more about the team defense, the running game, and, you know, he just don't mess it up, Roethlisberger. Don't mess it up. But what he did in Arizona with Santonio Holmes on the last play with the game on the line was nothing less than extraordinary. What he did was to get the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl against the Green Bay Packers. I know they lost, and he had a shot. He had the ball on the last drive, and he didn't get it done. But he's been to 3 Super Bowls. He has 2 Super Bowl rings, no Super Bowl MVPs. That factors into him, you know, being where he is as well. But the reason he's falling from number 3 to number 6 in my book is because the Pittsburgh Steelers has missed the playoffs the last couple seasons, and Big Ben has been banged up and not been able to get the Pittsburgh Steelers to where they need to be. Now, I'm starting to worry a little bit because I do like Pittsburgh. That's one of the franchises that I've always respected. I like Mike Tomlin, the head coach, but I'm afraid if they don't start getting back into the playoffs, are we going to see a situation where Mike Tomlin is on the hot seat? Are we going to see a situation where you're going to start to rethink, is it time to get another quarterback in Pittsburgh? You know, I don't know how much longer, you know, they want to put up with not only losing, but I know Roethlisberger has been good the past few years, but he still has baggage from his past. So winning can kind of keep covering that up, but when you don't win, all of a sudden it just seems like stuff starts to come from under the rug. So Ben Roethlisberger, you will be my number 6 quarterback as of today. And this gets us into our top 5. And this is where the controversy really picks up, because I see the game a lot different from other people. I don't ride nuts of guys just because everybody else ride their nuts. You know, I'm not that guy who's going to pick up a bandwagon. I see guys I like, not all I like. I see guys who are good, and I see guys who can contribute to winning. And my number 5 quarterback is a winner. He can contribute to winning. He has won a Super Bowl. He has won the Super Bowl MVP. He is a discount double check type of guy, and that's Aaron Rodgers. Now, I know people are like, oh, Aaron Rodgers number 5. You got Rodgers, who? 85 quarterback, better than that. I'm gonna do that. Just be patient. Let me give you my reasoning behind Aaron Rodgers being number 5. First of all, you get Ben's spot because you beat Ben head up in the Super Bowl. I'm gonna give you that. I gotta go off the eye test when I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers. When I'm looking at Aaron Rodgers play, there's no better quarterback in the league. I'm talking about what he can do with his legs, what he can do with his arm. I mean, he throws a beautiful ball. He doesn't have the strongest arm in the league. It's strong, but the spiral, and every time he throws that ball, it's just so beautiful the way he just delivers the ball. When Aaron Rodgers in the game, you really believe that the Packers are going to win that game every time. Even if they lose, just, oh, they lost? They lost this week? But Aaron Rodgers last year had to deal with injuries, and that's okay. And that's okay that he had to deal with those injuries, because he bounced back and they still made the playoffs, and you still were afraid of the Green Bay Packers. I mean, I'm just looking at Aaron Rodgers' number, his 9 touchdowns to 1, 7 touchdowns to 1. When you look at a 66 completion percentage in his career, I mean, this guy's awesome. So I don't want to knock him any, but this is where the knock comes in on Aaron Rodgers. How clutch is Aaron Rodgers? I'm talking about, let's look at it. No playoff comebacks ever. You know, let's look at these things. The one Super Bowl that Aaron Rodgers did win against the Pittsburgh Steelers, he didn't put the game away. It ain't like he led a drive and scored and put Pittsburgh away. No, Roethlisberger had the ball last. And if he could have led the Steelers to a touchdown, then Aaron Rodgers would have no chip. Aaron Rodgers boy have his chip because Roethlisberger didn't get it done. It's not even really about Aaron Rodgers. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not gonna take credit away what credit is due. He's a champion. He won it. But clutch? No, he's not clutch to me. And that's the thing that's gonna separate him from the guys who are above him. Now, true enough, because my number 4 quarterback is gonna be Peyton Manning. True enough, Aaron Rodgers, I can put him over Peyton Manning. But Peyton Manning is the greatest regular season quarterback of all time. When you talk about a guy who's going to be there week in and week out, you're talking about Peyton Manning. When you talk about 50 touchdowns, you see some of the numbers. You're talking about 4 MVPs, 5 MVPs in the league. I mean, oh my God, it's going to be hard for me to put a guy like Aaron Rodgers over Peyton Manning, because all things even, Peyton Manning is a better quarterback. You know, and I can do that for a lot of guys. But luckily, Aaron Rodgers has a resume, but the guy I have over him, we already talked about him, is Peyton Manning. Now, I can sit here and just, because I'm looking at the numbers, I can sit here and run down all the great things that Peyton Manning has done, but I'm not. Because you know just like I know the greatness of Peyton Manning. You know just like I know what he's done in the regular season. And just like that, you also know what he's done in the postseason. And we're talking about a guy who has an under 500 postseason record. We're talking about a guy who we just saw in the Super Bowl. Embarrassing. Let me just say that. Embarrassing. And I know Peyton, if he's watching, which I doubt he is, but I know he said, oh, it's not embarrassing. When we were in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry, you got embarrassed, Peyton, in the Super Bowl. And this happens time and time again. You got embarrassed against New Orleans. New Orleans never won nothing in their life. But they beat you. And on the Super Bowl, you have Peyton Manning as against Chicago, which had a quarterback that was worse than any quarterback who should have ever been in the Super Bowl. And I'm talking about Rex Grossman. This is how you got your one chip. So, Peyton Manning, and it's been the same way since he's been in Tennessee. When the pressure is on, the bigger the game, the more clutch a situation is, he's going to fold. And that's why he's my number 4 guy. And my number 3 guy is a guy who's totally opposite of Peyton, but shares some of the same blood. And I'm talking about his little brother Eli Manning. Now with Eli, this is a guy I don't want in the regular season. You're talking about a guy who has 3 seasons where he's thrown over 20 picks. Just last year he threw 27 picks. But with that being said, Eli, last year was the first year he's ever finished below 500. He's been above 500 quarterback every season in the league. When you talk about completion percentage, it could be better. He hasn't topped 60% in the last 2 years. But let's go to the top of the criteria, winning. 2 Super Bowls, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, clutch. When it was on the line, when it's on the line, game-winning drives in the playoffs, he has 5. So, I mean, the guy's just clutch, and he gets it done. In the regular season, I don't want Eli. I'm sorry. Eli, we got Eli being Eli. We know he gonna throw the pick, just like Jay Cutler. He gonna throw the pick. But Eli's healthy, and if they do just so happen go 9-7 and squeak into the playoffs, then Eli Manning is the most dangerous quarterback in the playoffs, and the Giants instantly become a favorite to win it all. So I gotta give respect to Eli Manning. I know a lot of people hate Eli and they can't stand it. He's disgusting to watch. I get it. Trust me, I get it. But if there's a big game and I gotta have one quarterback to get it done, I'm taking Eli. And if you're gonna have a guy who's that efficient and that clutch, he has to be in the top 5. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I said I was sorry. Eli is the top 5 quarterback in the league. I have him at number 3. My number 2 guy is just awesome. Strong cannon, one of the strongest arms in the league. You talking about an offensive juggernaut. You think Peyton Manning is an offensive juggernaut? He is. But Peyton Manning hasn't thrown for 5,000 yards for the past 3 years. I'm talking about 71% completion percentage 3 years ago. Just last year, 68% completion percentage. Close to 69 because it's 68.6. 69% completion percentage? Oh my gosh. And it doesn't matter who he has. And don't get me wrong, got Jimmy Graham, who's damn good and can dunk 30,000 if you do twice. But every year, it's Marcus Colston, it's Robert Meekum, there's Kenny Stills, he got Cadet, he got all kind of, it doesn't matter who he has, because he can read defenses, his arm is strong enough to get the ball wherever it needs to be in tight spaces or whatnot, and he plays in the Dome in New Orleans with some of the greatest football fans in the world. Drew Brees is a top quarterback. Beat Peyton Manning in his Super Bowl. New Orleans has not been anything else. They're one of the worst franchises in sports. I'm talking about baseball, basketball, football, in sports history. And Drew Brees got him a Super Bowl. Wow. That's big. I mean, I just respect the hell out of a man who has over 51,000 passing yards in his career already. Numerous amounts of Pro Bowls. I mean, all the accolades are there. There's nothing missing out of Drew Brees' plate. Community guy, he does it all. And for for that, he has to be number 2. Yes, he's better than Aaron Rodgers. I know Aaron Rodgers got one, he got one. Aaron Rodgers probably be air test, eye test or whatever. Aaron Rodgers got him on the height. He'll breathe smaller. But 5,000 yards for the past 3 seasons. And that's just the past 3 seasons. In his career, 4 seasons where he's thrown for 5,000 yards. That's putting a team on your back. We know New Orleans didn't have defense. The best defense they had was when Greg Williams was putting a bounty on everybody. They led the league in takeaways that season. They won a Super Bowl. Other than that, they haven't had a defense. It's been all Drew Brees. And for that, I got to respect that man and put him as the number 2 quarterback, which leads us to our number 1 quarterback in the league, and by default is a guy who I haven't named, but he's one of the most feared quarterbacks in the league. Now, of course, he plays in the easiest division in all of football because you're going to get 2 wins from Miami. You're going to get 2 wins from Buffalo. You know, depending on the season, you might get 2 wins from the Jets, but more than likely you'll at least get 1 from them. I'm talking about the Patriots quarterback, Tom Brady. Now, he hasn't been my number 1 quarterback over the last couple seasons, but Eli's looking bad. He struggled. You know, you had other guys elevate their game. You had Roethlisberger. He dropped his game. Tom Brady has always been number 2 in my book, but now he goes back to number 1 by default because why? He has 3 Super Bowl championships. He's been to 5 Super Bowls. He lives in the AFC Championship year in and year out. They're winning the AFC East year in and year out. So winning is there. The clutch factor is there. You can count on Tom at the end of a game to get it done. Who's his receivers? Big Gronk got hurt. It doesn't matter. He finds a way to continuously get it done. Every game out, the Patriots are the favorite. Just get up. When the playoffs come, just get up. The Patriots, they might win it again. They're always in the thick of things, and that's because of their quarterback. And when you just talk about work ethic, a guy like Peyton Manning who stays after practice for 2 hours to work with his receivers. You got guys like Tom Brady who had that same competitive flair in him, who wants to win. He wants to be the best. And guess what? He wants to play for a long time. This man wants to play till he's 50 years old and be great. He loves football. And I love that about Tom. I don't like the Patriots. I'll be the first one to tell you I don't like the Patriots. You know, I don't really like what they stand for. I don't really like what the uniforms stand for. But I gotta respect the man in Tom Brady. I haven't really reeled off much of his stats, but the man is a 63%. It doesn't matter that the man gets it done and you scared of him. I'm scared of him. So for that reason, for him being the most consistent quarterback in the league, staying healthy year in and year out, getting 12-4, 12-4, 13-3, 14-2, 10-6. He got hurt. But before that, 10-6, 12-4, 10-6, 14-2, 14. Every year, I can't hate on that. I gotta give credit what credit due. So Tom Brady, you're at the top of my list for the number 1 quarterback in the league. This has been the Controversial Truth, brought to you by OneManCave.com and also Authority Transportation. If you gotta get it there, there's only one way to get it there, and that is with Authority. The Fantasy Football League is about to kick off. I'm so excited. We have 1 slot left for our league. Of course, it's a $100 fee, $75 weekly payouts, $625 to first place, $300 second. Third place, you get your $100 back. It's the most competitive league in the nation. Also, we're going to have a fantasy football show that'll be aired weekly on OneManCave.com. Also, my YouTube channel, Enrique James. So you can be a part of something great and be a part of something different, and really, you know, because if I win the championship this season, you know, I've already let the guys know, nominate me for the Hall of Fame for fantasy football, because I've proven that I'm great and I'm on another level. Well, you know, that's the type of thing that you're dealing with when you join the WCF. So, you know, come get down. We got a lot of champions, a lot of guys who've been great, a lot of guys who are on the verge of being Hall of Fame material when it comes to fantasy football. And like I said, I'm your host, Enrique James. A lot of you know me by Notty. Until next time, this has been the Controversial Truth, the quarterback edition. Watch out for that running back edition, which will be coming to you very soon. And like always, the truth shall suffice.